Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of MeTube. I'm Jeremy. And this is the Seriously Funny Comedy channel. Seriously Funny Comedy! It's time for part 2 of pot, porn, and puberty. Typically, you're not just discovering it on your own, like you're just out there and it's like Santa Claus brings you a hash pipe for Christmas when you're 9. For me, the first time I experienced it was watching, of course, a Cheech and Chong Up in Smoke midnight showing.
Wow, man. That's some heavy shit, man.
And I got handed a rheostat that had a little bit of what they called a roach. So they say, just give them a little bit. And woo, my life just changed instantly. Before I knew it, I was like, dude, where can we score? But back in my day, wasn't so easy. You had to go on the hunt. You had to find a guy who knew a guy who might know a guy. And then you had to track them down. Typically, it was way out in the suburbs. You had to go to their parents' house where they were still living because they were just kicked out of college for being too much of a burnout. And then their parents would come to the door and say, who are you and why do you want to talk to my son? It was never a girl pot dealer. Or you had to go in the seedy part of town. You had to take risks. There was danger involved. You had to go like on a suicide mission and maybe wind up in a parking lot at midnight on a Saturday night hoping the dude was going to show up. There was real adventure involved. You're like the Hobbit. If you did score the weed, there was celebration in the land. Everybody went back and got high, and that was the accomplishment. That's what you did with your weekend. You didn't have what kids today have, which is basically legalized marijuana. And yes, I'm talking to you, Rocky Mountain High, Colorado, and Oregon. Here in California, you just go down to the local dispensary and they'll hand you a bag of medication. You could even probably order takeout in some places. You just call up and you're like, yeah, I'd like an ounce of sensimilla and a pizza. Funny story. I was house sitting for some friends and they were growing some tree. Some neighbor must have scoped it out, tipped off the local authorities. There was a knock at the door. They cuffed me. They put me in a cell. I almost stayed overnight with a guy who was in there for having a sawed-off shotgun. His name, incidentally, was Peanut. I don't know if that was his jail name or not, but luckily I got bailed out before I had to spend the night with a burlap sack as my blanket. Once again, a good reason to have legalized pot is the guys like me who are essentially just, innocent 20-year-olds, decide to grow dreadlocks because they went to one Grateful Dead show too many, don't get thrown in jail. That's the end of pot, porn, and puberty, and basically what this has been is propaganda to show the goodness of the abundance of free porn and legal marijuana. Me too!